So this is kind of a different view, and that's because it's currently raining, as you can probably hear, and this is the spot in my house where it's the loudest, because I'm sort of in the entry hallway and there's a skylight overhead, and I really wanted you guys to be able to hear the rain in the background of this video, so there you go. Now on to next order of business. I was looking through my list of videos that I had been wanting to make, and I noticed that a lot of them were really geeky, and it kind of made me maybe a little bit sad that YouTube has a Geek Week, because I thought, man, you know, when Geek Week comes around, I can make 2 videos, because I make 2 videos a week with this content. But there's so much geeky content. There's enough for a whole month. And then I realized, why not just do my own geek month? Because, I don't know, I mean, I like challenging myself, so why not? So my challenge to myself this month is to continue in my normal video making progression, slightly altered, since, you know, this is going to be a vlog video and it's going to be before I wouldn't normally have a vlog video, but sort of continue as I normally would, but every video has to be geeky themed in some way. Now that can become really difficult for times when I'm supposed to be, you know, reading excerpts of poetry or prose, so I'm cutting it down to things that I can geek out over. A lot of the stuff that I geek out over isn't necessarily what most people geek out over, so that'll make it a little bit easier when it comes time for me to read, like, to do a video of my poems, or to do a vlog style video or something like that. So for the first video for this month, I have made a list of the things that I geek out over. And I tried to include anything I could think of, even if it's just sort of minor geeking, just because I know some of these things are things that other people will totally geek out over way more than I would, and because I've always been a sort of, I guess they're like surface skimmers, I guess is what my mom calls them, as opposed to the deep divers. I like knowing a little bit about everything, and because of that, I never get fully as like deeply into one particular subject or fandom like some people will. But I don't know. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. So, starting with, as you guys will obviously know, prose and poetry is something that I will geek out over, and one of my closest friends is actually an English major, so she will come talk to me about things that she's read in class. Recently she's been talking a lot about how she's been reading Chaucer for her classes, and again, I know nothing compared to what she knows about prose and poetry and stuff, but it's always really fun to talk with her about that stuff. And I have a lot of friends from college who are huge in the slam poet scene, so again, they know way more than I know, but it's always really interesting. And speaking of poetry, I figured this would be a good time to let you guys know that the month of April, this month, is National Poetry Writing Month, and that means that every day, people who choose to take on this challenge every day will write a poem, and I will be taking on this challenge, and in the month of May I'm going to try and show you some of the stuff that I wrote. That way, you know, you can see what a person can come up with in a day. And I will try to have this video up on the 1st of April. That way, for those of you who see it then, it will not be too late for you to start. But yeah, that's for those of you who like challenges. That's one for you. Going on to other sort of subjects, academia type things that I geek out over. I was going to just say psychology, but I realized that it branches beyond that. While I did study psychology, it's not just the psychology itself that I geek out over. It's psychology, science, philosophy, just knowing about the world and how it works. And psychology is just really knowing about people and how they work. And that's what I've always, I guess, found most fascinating within that realm of knowledge. But even in general, like, I really like learning things about, like sociology or biology, chemistry and physics to an extent. They have not been, chemistry and physics were not my best subjects. And while I do like knowing about them, I also know that a lot of it is beyond my comprehension. But yes, I like knowing things. I like knowing about the world and how it works. Another thing which I've touched on before in previous videos, serial killers. I know it sounds totally creepy to some of you guys, but it's something that's always fascinated me because I can't imagine why someone would want to hurt someone else so badly. And that's sort of my tiny little dark side. I think everyone has a hint of a dark side. And mine is that I'm fascinated with people who do things that I could never imagine doing myself. So, serial killers are sort of the prime example of that, like other forms of criminology, you could study, con artists, you could study, people who steal, stuff like that, but serial killing has sort of been put at the top of this, like, list of crime. I can't think of another way to explain it, but it's sort of considered the highest example of someone doing something so horrible that it is beyond comprehension. Another thing I have definitely mentioned in other videos is squids. I had the video of posters in my room where I had like 2 squid posters up there. I have an idea for a video where, because I have a bunch of little stuffed animal squids that people have given me because they're like, oh, well, she knows she likes squids. Here, let's give her a squid. Easy present. But, yes, I do want to do a video about squids on its own, but yeah, I'll save that for that video. Now on to fandoms. Harry Potter, I think, is what I would call my first major fandom. I read all the books. I went to pick them up at midnight. I saw all the movies in theaters. It was just a really big part of my life, and it's sort of, I guess, because the movies in particular were coming out around the time that I was that age. I remember being in middle school and watching the 3rd Harry Potter movie, and, the 4th Harry Potter movie as I was gonna start high school, and them dealing with the Yule Ball and me having to deal with things like guys and whether or not I should ask someone out or stuff like that, silly things. So it was sort of what carried me through, I guess, teenagerhood? There's a better word for that. Adolescence. Another thing is Star Wars. I remember seeing The Phantom Menace in theaters when it came out, and I know every Star Wars fan says that the new trilogy sucks. But that was the first one I saw, and even though it wasn't, well, not the first one I saw, okay, that was the first one I saw that brought me into the series, because before then I had seen the original Star Wars. I just the original movie number 4 I had seen. Don't know if I had seen 5 and 6, but I certainly was not as into the series until I went and saw the first one in theaters, because that connection, I guess, of seeing something for the first time at the same time as everyone else was seeing it for the first time was what drew me in, because suddenly there was this discussion about it. Before then, it had been these 3 movies that had been out for how long, you know? But suddenly people were talking about how was this little boy going to become Darth Vader. So that was very interesting. And then, of course, the universe. I wanted a lightsaber so bad. Batman is another one. I believe I've mentioned, I definitely showed one of my brother's Batman comic books, but he is way more into Batman than I am. He has, like I've said, a whole bunch of Batman comic books, which I intend to show you at some point. Finally found out where they all are, since when I was doing the books video, I couldn't find them. I do want to go through and actually read them before I do video, so I can maybe talk a little bit about them. But most of what I know about Batman is through the movies and through, you know, just researching on wiki pages. I haven't actually read through too many of the comic books myself. But I do really love the universe, and I remember watching the animated series growing up. All the villains are amazing. I love Catwoman, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, the Joker, Scarecrow. In terms of comic book universes, I think that one is probably my favorite. Firefly is another one, a big one, because I've just started getting back to the Firefly comics. There's one season of the show, there's the movie, and there are a whole bunch of comics, and I've started reading the Firefly, they're just called the Serenity comics, and it's sort of reminding me of why I fell in love with the series in the first place. Let's see. There are a lot of shows that I could mention for, that there are a lot of, like, little shows that don't necessarily have huge fandoms per se. So, like, Scrubs is one that I used to geek out over so much when it was still on TV. And it's one that I still reference regularly to this day. Mostly to friends who I know will actually get the references, of course, but like my brother and I will reference it back and forth. The number of times that he has wanted to put a pancake in the silverware drawer. If you know Scrubs, you will get that. But Scrubs, similar shows, like, I don't watch too much of Big Bang Theory, but I've been catching up on How I Met Your Mother, and I know that I think the finale is, I don't know if it's this week or next week, because I've honestly just been watching it online, but that's happening soon. Battlestar Galactica is another one. I know that's an old series, it's already completed, but I discovered it with a friend last year, where I watched Caprica, which was supposed to be the canceled prequel. Well, again, like Firefly, one season and then it was canceled. Although the original Battlestar Galactica is better. So I am currently halfway through season 3, and yes, I have been spoiled for what happens in season 3, because some people can't keep their mouths shut. I told my friend I wasn't done with it yet, and he still spoiled it for me. But, let's see what else. Doctor Who, finally caught up on. Yes, I've been behind on Doctor Who for so long, because just as I started catching up with the previous season is when the new season started. And then I got busy, and then I couldn't catch up, and so now I'm finally all caught up, and I'm ready for Peter Capaldi whenever his next episode should come out. There are a few shows that I've watched like little bits of. So like Game of Thrones, I've seen the first season. I intend on trying to catch up. I know I'm not going to be able to catch up before the new season starts, but I don't know. Sherlock, I'm definitely intending on catching up. The good thing about, I mean, I guess it's advantageous for me now, is that it'll be easy to catch up because it's going to be so freaking long before the next episode comes out. Let's see, Orange is the New Black. I've been loving and waiting for season 2 to come out. I can't think of any other series that I'm currently catching up on. I don't watch that much anime. I have a lot of friends who watch a lot of anime, but I always end up going partway through a series and then, getting distracted by something else. I have watched all the way through Furikuri, Durarara, Gurren Lagann, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I've watched the first season of Korra. I haven't watched the second season, but I've heard mixed things about it. So, if any of you guys are huge Korra fans and think that I should actually watch the second season, because I've been told by some people, don't watch it, just stay with the first season, and I've heard from some people, no, definitely watch it. So, let me know. And definitely let me know what you think about these other fandoms as well, and if there are other fandoms based on these that you think I would like. Not that I need more shows I need to catch up on. Let's see what else. There are certain movies that I just will totally geek out over. There was a period of time when I had a small obsession with Alfred Hitchcock when I was taking a history of cinema class, and I was just, Psycho is a great movie. Strangers on a Train, I think, is my other favorite of his. Mel Brooks movies, another thing that I reference in regular conversation to anyone who will understand it. Let's see, Young Frankenstein was my first Mel Brooks movie, and you never forget your first Mel Brooks movie. So that one will always hold a special place in my heart. But Spaceballs is great, especially because, as I've said, I am a Star Wars fan, so Spaceballs, of course. Blazing Saddles is absolutely wonderful, especially the ending, which I will not spoil for any of you guys who haven't seen it, because if you haven't seen Blazing Saddles, you should go see Blazing Saddles. And if you, same thing with the other two, Young Frankenstein and Spaceballs. If you haven't seen them, really go see them. They're hilarious. And then certain, like I'm not too huge on romantic comedies, but two that I absolutely love and watch over and over. I wouldn't necessarily say that I geek out or reference them a lot, but I definitely talk about them. 500 Days of Summer and When Harry Met Sally. Just because When Harry Met Sally is sort of I kind of love that. I like that sort of love story, and I've talked a little bit about this in my Pride and Prejudice video, but those sorts of romantic comedies that don't always start out perfect, I guess is the best way of describing it, where either they start out as friends and it looks like they're never going to be anything more, or they start out on the wrong foot and they fall in love in the end. And 500 Days of Summer is just an amazing perspective on communication in relationships, what can go wrong, and if you actually look at it from an outsider's perspective, you can sort of realize that both characters are flawed characters, and their flaws led to the downfall of this relationship, and led to all these problems, and you can sort of see where that came up. I know a lot of people will tend to side with one character or another, but I think it's important to look at things from a neutral perspective. Let's see. Webcomics. That's another thing. I follow, XKCD is a big one, Scandinavia and the World, a softer world, even though that one isn't really like linear storyline. It is very poetic and has actually inspired a few like bits of lines and poems of mine. Questionable content. If you follow that, if you're, I guess, hipster enough to read through, and I've definitely been one of those people who, you know, found a reference to a certain song or band or something like that in questionable content and then gone off and just listened to all of their music just because I'm a little bit of a hipster music-wise. And then also stand-up comedy is a thing that I geeked out over for a period in high school. And I watched a lot of stand-up comedy, but there are 3 comedians who sort of hold a very special place in my, not even just heart, just like my brain. But Eddie Izzard, my absolute favorite stand-up comedian. If you are a fan of like random Monty Python style humor, you will love him. And also just geekiness, because he will go on and on about like history or something like that, and he will make it hilarious. And the other two have both sadly passed away. Mitch Hedberg and George Carlin. These 3 are all totally different. I'm sure anyone will, between these 3, find one who they like. And Eddie Izzard is very silly, very dorky, and I have actually seen him in concert, and I really want to see him again. Mitch Hedberg, a lot of one-liners, and I think little quips that anyone can really appreciate. Has it stopped raining? Hopefully it'll start raining again. And George Carlin did a lot of angry old man stuff is what I kind of call it, but political humor and stuff like that. George Carlin was very well known for being not very politically correct, so. Anyway, and then things that I guess I do that I geek out over. I briefly mentioned ballroom before, but I've done waltz for like 4 or 5 years. I've been learning blues. I know a little bit of swing and tango, and I've done polka for ages also. And one of my recent projects is I've been trying to trick Pandora into making stations for specific types of ballroom dance. So I've successfully made a station of music that I can blues dance to, and now I'm trying to make a station of music that I can waltz to, but Pandora hasn't quite figured out that it needs to be 3/4 yet, so I'm still working on that. But yeah, I really like discovering music that I can dance to, or just, you know, finding a song and then being like, okay, how would I dance to this song? Let's see, what else? Board and card games, mostly like board games, tabletop games like D&D I've played. I like role-play style games, so if any of you guys know what Fiasco is, it's one of my favorite games. And Cards Against Humanity, I've played Catan, I've played, I think it's called Once Upon a Time, a lot of really cool board games and stuff like that, and unfortunately not too many people play those sorts of games anymore, but I really like them. I'm not a huge video gamer. I do have a whole bunch of games on Steam, a lot of which I have like purchased and then not quite played yet, so I'm working on that. I'm also a huge fan of The Sims, just because it's, I guess, the storyteller in me. I like creating my characters and then seeing what it is they want and what it is they do and doing stuff like that. And then just lots of, I guess, little things that I don't think most people will really geek out over, like socks. I had my sock market video that I showed you guys So you guys have seen some of my dorky socks, and I actually need more socks now because a lot of them have got holes in them, so I need to get on that. Certain types of food. You guys know about my love of tea. You've seen my tea collection. Other food groups I enjoy include chocolate, cheese, and bacon. Or any real combination of those. I have tried cheese with bacon bits in it. I have actually not tried cheese with chocolate in it, although I do know that that is a thing. Trader Joe's has cheese with chocolate in it, and I'm very hesitant to try it, but I also really want to try it, so I don't know. I have tried chocolate covered bacon, and it has been delicious. Don't judge until you've tried it. It is really good. And let's see. I think steampunk is the last thing on my list. I'm not sure what exactly it qualifies as because I don't exactly read or watch steampunk things. I just really like the style. I like the Victorian sort of style plus a little bit the modernization. So steampunk sort of falls in that in between. And not just the whole put a gear on it and it's steampunk thing. I really want to have like a legitimate steampunk outfit, but I mean, you need money for that. So we'll see. You need either money or a lot of skill with sewing and clothing making, and I really don't have much of either. I did have a, I don't know if I mentioned this, I have a good friend of mine whose wedding was steampunk themed, so I kind of threw together something that was like half Victorian, half Indian, because that's kind of the closest to steampunk I really have, is sort of like, because I don't have much Victorian stuff, but I have my Indian dresses, so I wore like an Indian dress with a sort of Victorian style bodice, and I have one of those little like flowers to put in your hair, so that was kind of cool. And she had this beautiful wedding dress with like gears along the bottom and the little veil with the tiny hat thing. So yeah, that's all I've written down on this list. This video is almost 30 minutes, oh my god. But I guess that's just shows you how much of a geek I am, that I couldn't make a video under 30 minutes about all of the things that I geek out over. So, if you're still here, thank you. And yeah, I guess many of these things will show up in my videos over the course of the rest of the month. So, there you go. If there's anything in particular that I've mentioned in this video that I geek out over that you want me to do a video on, or that you're curious about why I'm interested in it, or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment. And I'm still sort of planning out what I'm going to do for the videos for the month. So if you guys have any ideas, I certainly have a couple ideas for role plays based on one or two of these, but I don't know how many of them I'll be able to complete this month. So yeah, if you guys have any ideas or any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I will see you guys next time.